We are surprised every week. I say that this is our third week, fourth week.
You do like to count it. I don't know, but I know that last week we were actually sat doing some work for a while, not realizing that we were recording. So I feel like an exuberant hello was a better start this week.
We're not working. We're chatting.
Well, I was working before. We've been a bit busy today, haven't we?
Wednesdays are our busy day. This is also the thing that we say each week. We've been very busy today.
We've been doing marvelous things today. Although after we spoke earlier, I did then go for a very nice snowy bike ride with my daughter, hi Maya, and it was snowing, so it was like being like cycling in a snow globe.
Oh, lovely.
Just like little flurries of it. It was gorgeous and really sunny, so like, there's no snow on the ground. It wasn't slippy or icy. It was just delightful.
Oh, that sounds nice.
What's the weather like in Spain?
Glorious.
Wow.
Glorious, sunny and warm, and there is no snow. Although they did have snow about a month ago and the whole country shut down. They had this much snow and everybody went, we can't go out, we can't drive cars.
That does sound like England. Apparently there has been, now which way around? So like there's a few years ago, there were pictures, weren't there, of snow in the Sahara, like snow falling in the Sahara, which was like, but now we've actually got the Sahara in ski resorts. There's been a massive sandstorm and it's actually dropped a load of the Sahara, apparently, on mountainous ranges.
We're ruining the planet.
Yeah.
And aren't we meant to be talking about weight gain during lockdown?
Yeah.
There's a thing on the BBC that 48% of people say that they've put on weight during lockdown in a new survey.
Wow.
Oh dear, I can understand it.
Yeah.
I can understand it. I think there's a number of issues going on with weight gain in lockdown. Number one, there's nothing to do, so it's becoming sedentary. It's also really different from the first lockdown because the weather is, well, saying that, you're biking in the snow, so you know.
It's I think the interesting thing is, I know for me, I did put on a bit of weight in the first lockdown, but then I've been mucking around with my HRT, not mucking around, I've been working with my HRT and going up on some hormones, and so that naturally put weight on. But right at the beginning of lockdown, I didn't. That was more towards, in fact, it was probably after lockdown when I could drink gin with friends again. But I actually kind of like knuckled down and kind of worked out all the time. And then last lockdown, I'd put myself on quite a strict plan to lose the hormone weight. So what I've noticed this lockdown is I didn't do the whole just wandering around in pajamas last time, but I'm actually in my pajamas now with a top and some earrings on. So I'm just basically in pajamas because it's winter. And there is that thing of, I'm gonna have to put clothes on at some point.
One day.
And then we can't go anywhere in clothes. So yeah, although I haven't put weight on, I'm doing a regular weight check. So this is a good thing. What are we actually going to talk about? We're going to talk about why people are putting on weight.
Yes.
What we can do about it. And strategies, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to make notes.
So one of the things, the other stat that we had is that chocolate sales in lockdown went up by 50 million.
Wait,
Everybody went, I've got no joy in my life, I am going to eat chocolate. And so we wanted to talk about the connection between, so when we eat sugary carbohydrates, when we eat carbohydrates, it can be fruit and vegetables as well as eating chocolate, we produce the hormone insulin to deal with the sugar intake, to be able to convert the glucose into energy. And there is a connection between the hormone estrogen and insulin. So when we have high levels of insulin, so we're eating high levels of chocolate, for example, then we're going to be producing more estrogen. And estrogen is a fat storage hormone. So a classic example of an estrogen imbalance is women who, and men, who have moobs or large breasts, sizable bottoms and hips. If you are putting on weight around your boobs and your bum, then it could be the insulin estrogen imbalance that you want to be looking at.
Yes, for sure. It's it's really tough, particularly with hormone imbalances, isn't it? Because then you're really fighting against that as well.
I think weight gain is so misunderstood. I think we are so passionate about talking about the hormone interplay that is happening behind weight gain, because it's not just about cutting back on the calories and doing more exercise.
Oh, yeah. Eat less carbs, move your body more. Yeah, that is just, or calories in, calories out. So as long as I'm only eating the amount of calories I need to lose weight, then I can be eating a curly whirly.
When we upload this onto YouTube, I really hope that the still is of either you or me going.
It usually happens, doesn't it?
It does.
It's all the funniest
face.
I know. Brilliant. So I keep looking down, just by the way. I'm trying to look at the comments, and rather than look at them on my screen, I'm looking for comments. So
That's
post your comments. I'm like looking at them in real time. Yeah, and it is an interesting one because we are really passionate about it. And you'd never struggled with weight. You were always one of those really annoying thin people with willowy arms who could eat anything and then were really skinny. And I really hated that about being your best friend. For years, I bloody hated it because I conversed.
And then I had a baby, and then I sorted that out.
You had a baby and I went through a divorce, and suddenly I had the tiny hips because I was on the divorce diet.
And that was the time we decided to make all of our videos for our training school, and I am like, this!
These enormous boobs, and I can barely get in the side, but that's fine because I was on the divorce diet and only about this big anyway. It was funny. But I've battled my whole life, like my whole life, from 6 onwards. I remember every year, like I was an extra stone until I hit 14, and then I was 14 stone. I mean, just my whole life I'd struggled. And of course I look at that now, I'm on an office chair and it won't stay still. Like a little weird. And so I didn't know why, and I didn't know what that was about. And now I can actually look back at that and understand that I had an estrogen dominance issue because, and this might surprise some people, well, not this particular fact, but the connection. So my dad has autoimmune issues. My grandma had a lot of autoimmune issues, and weight instability can be an autoimmune precursor. So I definitely had that going through my sort of teens into my 20s. So I've battled with weight for as long as you've known me. And now I kind of go, nailed it. And then my hormones will go out again. I'll go, oh God, there's another 4 kilos. And then I have to work really hard at it. So you've actually now had to experience working really hard at it. Yeah. Like, damn, I can't just eat what I want, and I have to move my bum.
God, being in my 40s, blimey.
It's not great, is it? We're lucky to be alive. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
And I certainly have had to really battle. And so we are passionate about this particular subject and having answers for people.
I think one of the big issues with weight gain in this lockdown, so that, we got this interplay between blood sugars and estrogen, but there's also a connection between cortisol, the stress hormone, and weight gain. So if there is a lot of stress, I mean, it can go either way, to be honest. I mean, my experience in my 20s when I was particularly stressed was weight loss, because we have the two sides of the nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is where our stress is. And if we're in that all the time, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is where our digestion is, we never get those hunger messages because the body's going, well, I don't need fuel. I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
So I never had the experience of being particularly hungry when I was stressed. I can, when I was anxious, I just didn't have any hunger at all. So, I mean, there's that interplay. If people are particularly stressed and they're not eating and then binge eating, this can have a real effect, because then when the calories come in, the body's going, okay, right, we've got to store this. We've got to be able to use this because we think starvation is coming. So this kind of, we're back into the blood sugar instability again. That can really increase weight gain.
Yes.
But when there is high cortisol, we're coming back into the female hormones again with the estrogen, progesterone. We find that there's the body prioritizes cortisol instead of progesterone. So we have low progesterone, and when the body has low progesterone, it tends to have estrogen dominance, and then we're back to the boobs and the bum. So this, go on.
So, no, go on. You're in your stride.
Interplay. I mean, this is what we bang on about all the time, looking at this interplay between the blood sugars, which is your insulin, and the other blood sugar hormones like CCK and leptin and ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone and your satisfaction hormone. You've got the stress hormones, which is cortisol, and the neurotransmitter adrenaline. And then you've also got the estrogen, progesterone. So this interplay, when this is out of whack, can absolutely lead to weight instability.
Yes.
And I think that this is really what is going on at the moment, because people are miserable, people are stressed.
Yes.
And the difficulty is when, I mean, the mothers who are having to homeschool, for example, so having to hold down a job and not knowing if the job is, because the state of the economy, as well as having to homeschool, the stress of that. And so at the end of the day, reaching for a glass of wine or reaching for a bar of chocolate because there is nothing else, it makes sense to me.
Yes.
But this is what is leading to, piling on the weight during lockdown.
It does. And just as a little aside, the reason why I went earlier about the 4 million, 40 million, whatever it was, of chocolate sales is because also we know that, we're in the middle of a pandemic where we should be talking about supporting our immune systems, not piling our faces with more sugar. But we don't have anything else right now, do we? That is, I actually said to my daughter on our snowy bike ride, we'd actually gone up to there's a really lovely farm shop, and I sort of messaged her and said she should go out for a snowy bike ride and have a coffee. And I'd said something to her going, oh, this is a treat. She went, well, you're making me cycle to it. And I went, it's all we've got right now. Like, the only things we've got right now for most people is maybe, your hour of exercise outside, wherever that might be. If you're lucky enough to live somewhere really lovely and by a park, great. You've got alcohol, you've got the TV, you've got, chocolate or other kind of foods. This is it. It's really intense. So I can see why it's happening. And also it's that after Christmas, wasn't it all, Christmas is always lovely food. Getting back into it in January is already hard, let alone when you add in a lockdown. The other thing I just want to say here about alcohol, which I found really interesting, is it's really classic that people are, trying to lose weight. And even if people are only having a glass of wine a night or a gin a night or something, once we have alcohol, it takes 72 hours in our body for us to go back to fat burning. 72 hours for the body to actually burn through the specific type of sugar in alcohol before we can go back to fat burning.
Mm.
So if you're doing that every night, you're never getting into fat burning.
Mm.
So we're never going to lose weight if you're drinking every night.
Mm. Mm. So we've got what's going on physically, and what are our recommendations for trying to get that blood sugar craziness hormone issue? What would we recommend? Apart from our toolkit.
So first of all, it is about eating the right food and enough of it and at the right time, because it breaks my heart when I get women coming into the clinic, and I know this has been my mentality so many times in my life, if I just eat less, I will lose weight. Actually, you were talking about cortisol, that stress hormone. When we don't eat enough, the body thinks there's a famine. And you said it, the body thinks there's a famine, so it will hold on to weight if there's cortisol present in the system. It's going, okay, we're under stress, famine's happening. As soon as I get something, I'm going to go into fat storage. So if we don't eat enough, we will end up putting on weight. I mean, I have women coming in and they've got busy jobs and they're having a piece of toast for breakfast, a small sandwich for lunch, and then they're like, I'm just having a chicken salad for dinner. And I'm like calculating up and going, you're eating about 600 calories. Now, we're not big fans of calories because, a calorie is how much energy it takes to burn like a bit of water. Like it's kind of, there's points to there's a purpose to calories, and there's also not. It's like there's an overall understanding and also completely pointless, because you can have a McDonald's which has the same amount of or less calories than a really healthy, lovely bit of organic fish or meat, vegetables, some good fats that could have more calories than the McDonald's, but the way that your body will utilize this one over here is way better in terms of a hormone response than what it will do with this one over here. So the process, it will store it differently, it will do different things with it. So calories are kind of slightly pointless. But when I get people coming in not eating enough, I'm like, do you realize it's actually going to take a minimum of, depending on there's ways of working out, but let's say a minimum of you eating 1,500 calories before your body has enough energy to burn the fat. And people don't understand that. They don't understand that if I'm not eating enough food, my body can't even have the energy to break down the fat. I definitely got into that place when I followed low carb for a while, and I wasn't eating enough, or I was eating massive amounts, but it was actually quite low calorie because it was all leafy greens with a bit of protein. So it was, it looked really healthy, but there was not enough starchy carbs, and I definitely wasn't eating enough in terms of calories, and I was working out and all those things. I just kept plateauing, and I just kept, getting stuck. And now I eat more than I have ever eaten of all the right things, and I maintain, or I'm able to lose if I want to.
The other thing about what you were just saying, that diet where they have the piece of toast and a little sandwich and a little chicken salad, I mean, there's such a lack of nutrients in there. So the piece of toast, if it's wheat, then wheat is incredibly inflammatory. It's covered in glyphosate, which is a pesticide that they use on wheat, which inflames the gut. So it's a terrible start to the day.
And it's anti-nutrient because it stops you absorbing magnesium.
Oh, and the rest, absolutely. And then the sandwich in the lunchtime, so it's more wheat. I mean, the body needs nutrition. It needs nutrition. There's a whole spectrum of vitamins and minerals and amino acids and omegas that we need to be able to function. And when the body doesn't have them, it goes into a stress response. And then we're back in that cycle of more stress, more weight gain.
Yeah. So we do bang on about, but it's because we truly believe in it, PFC every 3. So every meal, or every time you snack, eating PFC. So we need a protein source, and by protein source we are talking meat, fish, eggs, tofu for some people, and protein powders, not whey please, vegan protein powders like rice, hemp and pea. We're talking fats for the fur, and that is our avos, our organic cheeses, our coconut oils, our olives, our tallow, our, what else am I missing? Butter, olive oils, all of those things, nuts and seeds, nut butters, really good fats. And then we have carbohydrates. We have two types of carbohydrates. We've got our non-starchy carbohydrates, which is all of our leafy greens and our salads and our brassicas. And then we have starchy carbohydrates. So that would be everything else and all the fun in the world. So fruit, fruit, root vegetables, grains and beans, legumes, all the treats like alcohol and sweeteners and biscuits and chocolate. They are starchy carbohydrates. Now we need those because also life is for living. We can have them every meal. We need them every meal or we're not going to be full up. But the trick is it's a half a cup serving per meal. Choose your carbohydrate. So if someone's having a risotto, which is probably at least a cup of cooked rice plus butternut squash and sweet potato, you're having a good couple of 3, 4, 5 portions of starchy carbs. And sometimes they're not putting any protein with it. They might put some cream with it or a bit of butter, but there is probably nowhere near enough fat and all of their ratios are off. So the body is just producing insulin. It's then, blood sugars are dropping. We're getting cortisol. And like you said earlier, as soon as there's insulin equals fat storage.
So we created a clever little quiz called the Symptom Assessor. So if you want to know where to focus with your hormones, so we've talked about blood sugars, we've talked about stress, we've talked about estrogen, progesterone, talked about the immune system, digestion plays a role. If you want to know where to focus and what to eat and what to take, then go to symptomassessor.co.uk and fill in the questionnaire, which only takes 2 minutes, and it will give you a very clear guidance of which pathway to follow. And you do that for a month and redo it. And you redo it and see if you've got the same results, if you need to keep focusing on that area.
What we have also done, because people have asked for it, you asked, we listened, is we have created a PFC pack, haven't we? We have put the diet plan with a load of recipes that I would like to say we created, but they're actually created by a really clever chef friend of ours for us, and they are utterly glorious and delicious. So that you can have the diet plan and a load of recipes and get started. That is available on balancewellness.co.uk.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because we do have lots of people saying, well, where do I get the PFC? Because it's all very well and good, and then I don't know how to start. And we've had that so many times over the years from clients, people going, well, I don't know what to eat. So also keep on looking on our social media, because we're putting in the stories. I took a photo earlier of my fabulously snappy, quickie lamb curry, because we're constantly putting the food that we're eating so that you can see how easy it is. But let's talk about the emotional aspect of
wow. Okay, so what's happening, what can happen here is food can be used as a way of numbing. So when we are low, depressed, restricted, frustrated, and we don't know how to process how we're feeling, and we either take it out on our partners or our family, or we numb ourselves by eating something because we want to make ourselves feel better. And so from an emotional perspective, we talk about that these behaviors are very top line. When we're able to have an awareness that we are doing a behavior that is quite negative and isn't healthy, the first step is having that awareness and to be able to recognize, okay, so I'm doing this behavior, I'm numbing myself by eating loads of chocolate. Okay, what's underneath that? What emotion am I trying to get away from? Is it, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling grief. There is a lot of grief at the moment because we've lost our way of life. So
we've lost our way of life, we've lost a lot of people.
Yes. The country is grieving. So about identifying those emotions underneath, and the way that we work with our clients is when we understand what that emotion is, how do we be with it? How do we get closer to it? Because it is just a part of us. that is hurting, that needs our attention. Actually, that's the painful thing about numbing and avoiding, is it usually gets worse because that part of us that is needing our attention feels ignored.
Yeah.
So then plays up even more.
It's like a tap on the shoulder, isn't it? It's like trying to get your attention, and then you don't. And so the next thing you know, you stood at the cupboard and you're just like shoveling everything into your mouth. Yes. It's really interesting actually, because I used to be a massive comfort eater. Like, it was my absolute go-to. So I had the opposite to you, which was I could eat in the middle of a crisis and I was never full. I mean, you had that too. You were never full, were you, with your skinny arms? But I don't even know where you put it. But I could always eat, and I was a massive comfort eater. So it was one of those classic, oh, I better not open that thing because otherwise I'm going to have to eat all of it. Whereas I knew when I'd actually, and it was funny because we were talking about diet the other week, and one of the comments was, oh, very disciplined. Claire, I was talking about something similar to this. And I was like, you know, it wasn't discipline. It was balancing my blood sugars first and foremost, because then the cravings often stop. And then it was doing this emotional work, because when I hear the voice that says, just go in, I just want to go and do that. I did it literally earlier. I'd had my dinner and I really fancied a bit of dark chocolate. So I ran to the cupboard and I opened the cup and pulled the drawer out, cracked open a bit of chocolate, had it, delicious, sat down, was doing a bit more work, and then went, I'm allowed 2 squares. I was like, I'm going to go again. My partner shouted out, what are you doing back in the cupboard? I went, I'm having my 2nd square, but if you hear me do it a 3rd time, I'm doing it unconsciously. But I realised I can't remember when, but it was a long time ago now. I'd suddenly become one of those people who could have a bar of chocolate open in the cupboard months later. Like, it doesn't matter that it's open. It's now become no, this isn't an automatic filling of my face. There have been moments where I've gone, oh, okay, I know I comfort ate then, and I'm aware of it. And that's probably been a handful of times in the last 10 years. So it is about balancing your blood sugars and then doing this emotional work, because when you can actually be with the emotion, you don't need to find another outlet.
Yeah, absolutely. I was we have something called the Hub, which is a group of people who are doing this work, who have done this work, who have been on our retreats or have done our online Reclaim Your Life program, and we do regular support with them. And I had a real sense this week, there was a real theme that was coming through of this. It was such a deep frustration, and on top of the frustration was this numbing. It was this lethargy. And one of the recommendations I gave was, you've got to move your body. You've got to move this energy. When we get really stagnant, and I think this is something that is, because there's nothing to do, because we've got to stay at home, this real lack of movement. And so when we feel frustrated, rather than just letting ourselves get lower and lower and lower, the opposite needs to happen. We need to break it out. We need to express itself. And I think one of the posts we did this week on Facebook was me doing that exactly at home. When I feel stagnant and stuck with anything or frustrated, I put on some tunes and I move my body. And it's not just dancing in a kind of a pretty kind of way. It's I've got to get this out of my body.
Yeah, because otherwise, where's it going to go? It's going to sit there and it's going to stew, and then it's going to turn depressive. Into depressive. Absolutely. Had a great question. Interested in your thoughts on, hi Jane, interested in your thoughts on how to rediscover true hunger. I find when anxiety strikes, I don't even feel hungry, but still eat because I'm trying to comfort the anxiety.
Oh, great question. Oh, yeah.
So, go on, you go.
Okay. Well, I know this one because anxiety, hello, old friend, was was one of my big things. So the two perspectives we need to look at, what we were saying earlier, is we need to look at it from an emotional perspective, and we also need to look at it from a physical perspective. The physical perspective, that hunger hormone is absolutely blood sugars. It's ghrelin and leptin. So you've got your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, leptin, which is your satisfied, full. And when they are out of whack, it's because blood sugars are out of whack. So there are some key supplements. Adaptogenic herbs are something that are amazing at being able to support with the anxiety, but also help. There's some really particular adaptogens that we work with that will support with the anxiety and support with the blood sugars. I'd also be looking at some minerals, like a certain type of magnesium and potentially a zinc. Like Claire was saying, the PFC. So these are the physical things that you want to get in place. And then we want to look at the anxiety and our relationship to the anxiety and where it's coming from, how we, because avoiding anxiety is never going to work. This is the difficulty with anxiety, is that when fear comes up, our natural response is to run away and to run away from the feeling. How can I stop this feeling? And that back and forth of, okay, I'm feeling anxious, I need to get away from it. I'm feeling anxious, I need to get away from it, is just a spiral. And the opposite needs to happen. We need to get a relationship with the fear. And that is something that we do. We do it on our retreats, but we also do it on our online Reclaim Your Life program, is teach people how to get up close and personal with fear. So I would be looking at it from the physical perspective, and I'll be looking at it from the emotional perspective.
Yeah, and I've got a few things to say about all of that. It's brilliant, thank you. I would also say check out our self-love lecture series, because I've actually just spent all day writing a talk I'm doing tomorrow on anxiety. And so the thing with anxiety is the work that we can do with it emotionally is also to become so connected to our self-love and our intuition, because our anxiety is actually our superpower trying to tell us something, but it's gone crazy because we've not been listening to it. We've not learned how to listen to it properly. So this is why the work that you're talking about is so important, isn't it, Laura?
Yeah.
So it kind of comes down to self-love, because when we're just trying to stop the anxiety, stop it, we're actually trying to stop part of ourselves, which then perpetuates the cycle. The other things I kind of wanted to say about that are, there's sort of a bit of a vicious cycle, is that the anxiety will cause the hunger hormones to go a little bit out of control, because the anxiety will cause cortisol. As soon as cortisol spikes the blood sugars, insulin has to kick in, and then we're back, down here. This, whilst we always talk about cortisol and insulin, by this being a roller coaster and not a gentle wave, we end up with our leptin, ghrelin, and another hormone called CCK, which is implicated in mood stability, being out of balance. So the anxiety will contribute to that, and it then also they feed each other. So then if we're not hungry and we're not eating, we're then causing it, and then the anxiety will cause it itself anyway. So we're in this kind of hormone stew when there's anxiety there. So when you say you aren't hungry, but you still eat because you're trying to comfort the anxiety, I would say eating is actually really important at designated times. So even if it's just your 3 meals a day and you're eating, it doesn't have to be big, but protein, fat, the right carbohydrates, not just I'm stressed and anxious, grab a bag of crisps. I'm eating the right food because this is the most self-loving thing I can do right now. And it's absolutely 100% balancing my hormones every 3, rather than thinking I'm trying to feed the anxiety, feed the anxiety. If you actually start thinking to yourself, I am self-lovingly rebalancing my hormones, that's actually one of the ways to switch on true hunger. because you're feeding your body as you need it. We've all been in spaces. I had it today, you know, the days where we're really busy and you just want to grab something quick and easy, or, you know, people grab a bowl of muesli or just a bit of toast. No, they're the days that it is just the quickest meal you could stick in a steamer, or you pre-prepared it or something. So you're just grabbing, eating, bless you, but it's PFC every meal. That is absolutely one of the ways to switch on true hunger.
Great question.
Great question. So that's the emotional aspect. And then we've also had the what we do about it.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Jane. That's very helpful. It is a very crazy time. It is very challenging. And so I think there's a couple of things here. I think, firstly, we can't all be as active as we usually are. Gyms are shut, you know, badminton and tennis clubs are shut. We can't do what we naturally would want to do. That sucks. I notice, you know, I'm really blessed that I've got gym equipment and I work with a PT, but even still, I'm like, it's not quite the same as getting up, going somewhere, having that structured time that feels like it's something for me. I'm in the house looking at the same four walls, trying to get the dog out the way. It's just not the same.
Oh, and imagine trying to do it with homeschooling.
Oh gosh, no, exactly, no. So there is this element of we can't do what we would usually do. What we can do is feed ourselves properly. We really, really can feed ourselves properly. And I know it makes us sound terribly virtuous and terribly disciplined. It's not like you and I don't have treats, is it? It's not like we don't enjoy eating out. We still actually always PFC up the menu, but we can feed ourselves well. And I have found some of the weeks really intense, and then I like to plan a really special meal. So another thing that I would be saying during the lockdown weight gain is try and not rely on things like takeaways. Maybe plan for that being a special treat on a certain day and look forward to it. And on the really dark days, kind of go, okay, that's okay, because in a few days, and I'm excited about that, and I'm planning it, and I get this real anticipation, and I'm really thinking about what it is I'm going to have, and I get super excited. My partner's always laughing at me because I'm thinking about dinner I'm going to have in a week before, and I get super excited about it. But that's actually building your anticipation. So rather than just stuffing it in front of the telly, you're then actually excited, and it's something you can engage in. And find the things that are really easy to cook. I mean, I'm really not kidding. The dinner I did tonight took 30 seconds of preparation, and then whilst it was cooking, I was getting changed and getting ready for this. It was so easy. So it doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be hard. Have the treats, but plan them. Make that your exciting night, because we haven't got much else. If your exciting night is we're going to get a takeaway, and maybe I'm not going to put the telly on, and maybe I'm actually going to get out my pajamas, maybe I could actually imagine it's a little date night with myself, or get the kids all excited.
And if you are going to have a glass of wine, PFC it up. So glass of wine sits in the carbohydrate category. Have it with dinner, have it with a fat or some protein, have it with some nuts or olives or some meats, or so that you're not destabilizing your blood sugars.
Yes.
And see if you can get discipline. Discipline's an interesting word, but that planning that treat for that glass of wine is not every night. Like you said, you give yourself 72 hours so that you can get back into fat burning.
Yeah, exactly. Or even if you have decided to have some discipline of going, okay, I want to drink something on Friday, Saturday nights, maybe a glass of wine on my Sunday roast, But Monday, to Friday, I'm not drinking anything, because that gives me my body that time off. And also, just in terms of the effects of drinking because we feel we need it, as opposed to, again, something that we're looking forward to. Very different brain chemistry going on there. It becomes that crutch as opposed to something that's a treat.
Have we got any more questions?
No more questions. Well, if you have any, post them. No. So,
is there anything else that we needed to say?
Wait, that's also on my phone. Hold on. Yes, we need to talk about. So check out the PFC plan that we've got on our website. You asked, we listened. We've got a PFC plan on the website with recipes, and super delicious. If you're more interested in getting these hormones under control, I would absolutely recommend you do Symptom Assessor and get the toolkits and get started. You're going to find the right adaptogen, you're going to find the right magnesium, you're going to get on the right omegas, you're going to get PFC included in that. You're going to have a 3-hour hormone masterclass, which is going to tell you all of this stuff. You're going to learn so much, and it's going to be fascinating. We absolutely are so proud and in love with our essential toolkits. It's literally like seeing a practitioner, but for a tenth of the price. It's just brilliant. But in exciting news, because a lot of people are so interested in nutrition these days, we do practitioner training, and historically it's always been in kinesiology, or more recently our emotional training. And we have now realized that not everyone wants to train as a kinesiologist, but people are fascinated about nutrition. So we have just launched, in fact, this week, our Nutrition for Health course, which is for anyone who's just interested in health and wants to sort of like dip their toes in. It is gorgeous. Laura's done it and it's beautiful. 50-hour foundation training in nutrition. And it's everything that you need to understand what is going on in the world today, why nutrition is important, a lot of the bywords that you'll hear thrown around in the nutritional industry, but in true us style, right from the word go, we are breaking through the health myths. So we are explaining to you why calories in, calories out is a fallacy, right from the word go. We're explaining to you what is the big deal about organic, and is it important? And if I can only go organic a little bit, what do I choose? And we're explaining to you how the modern world really has broken our food chain and why it's important now. Why are we wanting to deal with this stuff now? Because of these issues. So we're very, very excited about that. And it was originally created as a foundation for our bigger courses, but it is a beautiful standalone course on its own. So you can do this as a standalone course if you're just interested in nutrition, because you just want to do it because you're interested.
And it's online.
And it's online, and it's a little bit more information for you. Or if you're already a practitioner, you can do it and lay it onto your existing practitioner training, and then you can actually recommend clients use what you learn in it. Or it's a foundational springboard for the big course that we're about to launch, which is our Functional Wellness Coach, which is a professional practitioner training course in hormones, blood sugars, diet, stress, digestion, all of the things that we go on about without the kinesiology, because we're so excited that this work has to be out there. So that is our Nutrition for Health course, and that is on, if you go to functional-wellness.co.uk, which is a beautiful website that Laura also created at the same time. She's been super busy. Functional-wellness.co.uk, Nutrition for Health. But we can put a little link below this. It's beautiful. We're so proud of it. A couple of comments. Jenny, hi Jenny. Jenny says, great conversation. We cannot talk nutrition and not talk about what's going on between people's ears. You're absolutely right. And something we always talk about is people talk about willpower, and I have such an issue with willpower. There is no such thing as willpower. That is bloody patriarchal term designed to make us feel bad about ourselves when we don't achieve something. We have discipline and we have desire. Now, desire is a really interesting one because we have, desire requires us to take action. It requires us to be in a behavior. But we can only do that when the emotions around our desire are there. And to get to that place, we need to have worked on our core wounds to make sure that we feel good enough, that we feel that we, are ready for this, that we're allowed this, that we're worthy. So we have this whole gorgeous mine of gold that we can, dive into to get to the place that our desire isn't just, oh, well, I feel like I should be skinnier because then I'll be hotter. Or I can fit that pair of trousers that I bought in 1998. Or, whatever it is. So I'll look like the women in the magazines, which is all just conditioning and awful. So so we can get to desire by doing some deeper work on ourselves. And then we can find discipline. And discipline is exactly the topic that Laura was just talking about. It's all about this. How do I get closer to my self-sabotage and choose not to do it? What is the mechanism for the choosing not to? How do I self-parent that? How do I learn how to self-regulate, to become an autonomous adult, to be the person I want to be that gets me into my full potential? Because we talk about wellness all the time, and we talk about health, and we talk about emotion, but actually, truly, what we're really interested in is helping people to become, themselves in their full potential, because that's how we make the world a better place. Every single person working to be in their full potential, and then helping to inspire other people to be in their full potential.
Best job in the world.
Best job in the world. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, we do our Holding Space course. We do Reclaim Your Life, which is an online 12-hour course which covers all of this. And we also do that as an accredited practitioner training course too. We're so passionate about the emotional stuff because, Jenny, you're absolutely right. We have to talk about what's going on in here. And I'm so sick of having, been to PTs and heard PTs, and it's just, well, you just need to try harder. No, there's hormone stuff. And, don't beat me up. Actually, I need to work on my self-criticism or my self-love, and maybe it's self-loving myself an extra 6 kilos heavier because I'm not 24 anymore. They're complicated issues, and we can't be reductionist about how we deal with them. So going back to, we are in a crazy, crazy time in the world. We haven't been through this in 100 odd years. And my absolute thing is, okay, you might have put on weight. A lot of people have. How's about the first step is being really gentle with yourself and not beating yourself up about it. And if you hear that voice of criticism of, well, there you go, reaching for the chocolate again, any self-criticism at all, it's you are not welcome here. There is a lot going on in the world right now, and I will deal with this when the time is right. And right now, I'm going to get through each day the best that I can. And my commitment to myself might just be, I'm going to move my body, even if it's just a walk around my garden, even if it's just deep belly breathing, and I'm going to choose to eat nutritious food. And occasionally, if I reach for something that I would prefer not to, I can learn the skills how not to do that. And now might not be the time.
Love it. It's the first step with any kind of emotional work, is having that honesty and that awareness of, okay, this is why I'm doing this. It can be quite a painful self-exploration when we really self-examine ourselves and our lives and why we're doing things, but that is the first step.
Yeah, why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this? Yeah, I mean, even as you say that, like, I feel how sobering that question can be. And I've been there. I've been there with an awful lot of behaviors. And
we all do it. We all do it. Either learn from our families and our parents, or we create them as we go through life, as we learn how to cope with life. These are coping mechanisms. These are survival strategies.
Yes.
And when we're able to take that step back, and the witness in us is able to look at it and go, whoo, that ain't serving me. That is not helping me at all. And I've got to change this.
Yeah. Who do I want to be? Desire. Who do I want to be? Do I want to be the person that is doing this behavior repeatedly?
And what do I want to do? Discipline. Exactly.
And then how do I do it? And the other thing I want to say here, I had to have this conversation with my daughter earlier, and it was, we have to learn. I'm not going to say have to, actually. I'm so fed up of being on the internet and like seeing those memes where it says people constantly telling you what to bloody do this and do this, and you have to do this. But you don't have to do anything. You're perfect as you are. If you want to change, great, change. But I can't remember what I was saying now. I got so cross. Learning the courage to ask for help repeatedly. I actually said to my daughter earlier, I said, oh my goodness, any single time I don't know anything, I am always looking for a professional outside, or a friend outside of my knowledge sphere, because I don't know. So the amount of money that I have spent with mentors and PTs and somebody for this specific thing and somebody for that specific thing, because I go, I don't know. I'm going to ask for help because I don't know and I want to know. So if you are trying over and over and over again and you're not getting anywhere, ask for help. That is when to turn to a practitioner, do a symptom assessor, join a forum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, I think we nailed that one.
I enjoy it. I enjoy our little chats. They're not that little. When we first
25 years, darling, we've been enjoying our little chats.
When we said that we were going to do these on a weekly basis, I think we were advised, I think 20 minutes.
Yeah, we can't do that.
No.
Laura and I met in 2000. Yeah, 2000. And at a party where we instantly...
Denim dress on.
Yeah, you had the best denim dress on. I sent you a picture recently, didn't I? Because there was...
Short hair.
I saw it, I was gorgeous.
Oh,
I saw this magazine and it said the best denim dress ever, and I took a photo and sent it to you, but it's not as good as yours in 2000.
Good grief, no. I was so anxious at that party.
You had such anxiety, didn't you? And then we discovered that we just wanted to, we would go clubbing because we were young enough, and we just sacked off everybody else, and we just used to sit down and have a chat the whole night, barely danced at all. We've been doing that for 25 years.
Oh, glorious.
Glorious. Lovely. Oh, okay. Another comment. Also true. I think the lack of true connections to others at the moment also disconnects us from ourselves. You're absolutely right, Jane. You're absolutely right. So we're looking for that connection. And so that's why we're looking for the alcohol, the TV, the food. It's just something. So whereas you might run something past a friend on a wander, yeah, that we have to be that kind of voice to ourselves. You're absolutely right. So we don't have the friends regulating us going, wow, you're being really hard on yourselves. It's really tough. It's really tough right now. But a bit like Labour, every push is one step closer to the end. Every day is one step closer to the end.
Although not in the case of our Labours.
No, not in the case of our Labours.
It seems to be fruitless Labour.
Yeah. So that is a real thing to remember, is
this too shall pass.
Pass.
Yeah, that's one of my favourites. This too shall pass.
Shall be well. All manner of things shall be well. Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody who's watched and commented, thank you. We really appreciate you. We really enjoy doing these, and especially if we're answering specific questions, because it makes it worthwhile. And if you are watching back, I know there are a few messages saying people are going to watch back. Please do post your questions and we will respond to them. We are back next week. Let me just see what we're talking about next week. We are talking about more about hormones.
Because we do like to talk about hormones.
Yeah, I need to get clear on what we're talking about next week, actually.
Hormones and emotion, I'd guess.
Yeah, probably. Oh, yeah, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? All right. Great. Anyway, if you've got anything you want us to talk about next week, ask us below. We'd be delighted to chat about something that you want us to talk about rather than what we spend all day talking about. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.